I'm not the type of person that's going to cherish how much stuff I had or what clothes I wore or what achievements I won. For me, it really is, I want to look back and look at the cool connections that I had and people whose lives I got to be a part of.
That's awesome. Hello everybody and welcome to Show Love episode 10. My name is Ben, I will be your host, and joining me on my tiny little couch in my office is Nisha Ravji.
Hi.
Nisha is amazing and awesome, and we've been shooting weddings together for a few years now.
Yeah, a while.
And yeah, she's super cool, and she shoots weddings all over the world basically. Living the best life. And so I got Nisha in today to talk all about destination weddings. The glamour of it, the not so glamour of it, all the realities of what shooting weddings all over the world actually looks like. Because I think it's something that a lot of us probably aspire to do. You see all these weddings on Instagram and stuff, I'd love to shoot a wedding in Venice or in America or wherever, and it's sort of like, how do we even come close to starting to get there? So I thought it'd be cool for Nisha and I to chat today a little bit about how you do what you do. Cool. So before we get into that, I thought it'd be fun to go through some wedding day hacks. To help people out with just some little,
like a little cheat list.
Just a little cheat list of some things to just smash your wedding day.
Sweet.
Cool. So do you want to start us off? Okay.
So are we like just weddings or specifically destination?
Oh, just weddings in general.
Just cool. Weddings in general.
I mean, if you want to do destination weddings, that's cool too.
I think my biggest one's always be weather prepared. Yeah. So I think my car now has like a raincoat, a towel, a set of gumboots, all that kind of stuff is really important.
A towel is a biggie. I definitely use a towel.
Yeah, you use a towel way more than you think. It's a bit like being a midwife.
I wouldn't know. All right. Okay, to go on that one, full brimmed hat.
Yes,
for the sun.
super key.
Yeah.
And also, insider tip, if you haven't had time to shampoo your hair and you started shooting really early,
yes,
just hat.
Get that hat on.
Yeah.
Your turn?
My turn. Family, I think a lot of people already do this, but a family photo list. This is something I always talk to the couple in advance about, so that there's no kind of rigmarole or like
adding in of lots and loads.
You don't have a mother of the bride, or sometimes it's mother of the groom saying like, oh, they need one with this person, and having a few printed copies of it, or like a version you can share easily and get some people on your side to help wrangle people is probably the biggest time saver.
Totally. One I've just started this season, bum bag or fanny pack.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I actually witnessed the bum bag in action at a wedding we had together recently. Such a good idea.
It is the one.
Yeah,
I mean, like, you can get the super trendy like leather ones, but I've just got a little like JanSport camo one, and it's camo, so no one can see it.
Yeah, it's
obviously.
True.
Yeah.
That's what else? Wedding day hacks. Basically, half of my camera bag is just snacks.
Yeah.
But I think that's a lot of people.
Snacks on snacks.
Snacks on snacks.
Okay, so what are good wedding day snacks?
So I always have boiled eggs, but you always have to have them peeled, and always have mince as well afterwards if you're going down the boiled egg route. I'm quite a big fan of like a bagel with peanut butter and banana sliced in half.
So you do proper snack. I was going to say, like, I do like those peanut butter slugs.
Oh, those like in the mouth.
Yeah.
Those are fun too.
No, but yours sound way nicer.
Yeah, I mean, I like fruit, but then you've got to, it's always a bit like, it gets bruised and it's not that great.
And if it gets warm, it's not
game
nice.
over.
Yeah, game over.
Yeah. I do have like a little like, oh, this is a good one. I have like a little lunch bag, which is a chili bag with ice blocks in the car.
I've seen your little lunch bag. It's very cute.
Thank you.
Yeah, to go with your mints, I because in my car I have mints, sunblock, and deodorant. It's like in my
key.
console.
Especially New Zealand weddings.
Yeah. Because you just get way too sweaty, man. It's way too hot.
Way too sweaty.
Yeah. I don't know how the mints are going to help with that, but it just makes you feel nicer.
I also have a couple of pairs of jandals.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so I just have like a women's size 6, 7, 8 that I keep in my car. If it's not a destination wedding, obviously I don't fly around the world with,
with extra jandals.
with 9 jandals with me. 9? No, that wouldn't work. You'd need 10.
Just
One-legged bride. Yeah, because often if I have brides who have, and you've had this too, like have worn crazy, massive, beautiful, impractical shoes.
Oh yeah,
And then you're like, oh, we're gonna go scale these
Yeah.
rocks or
Yeah.
like jump this fence. Yeah, you can save a lot of time.
Yeah, that's a good tip. And one thing I've been doing this season, trying to do more of, is like Instagram stories and stuff.
Yes, you are so good at them.
Well, I am trying, but now my phone dies. So battery bank.
Yeah,
for your
battery
phone.
bank. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
true. Especially if you don't have a drive in the day to charge
Yes.
the car.
Yes. Charge the car?
Charge the car. Yeah, I also bring a car into car charger. No,
Yeah. Just only drive Teslas.
only Teslas.
Yeah. Cool. I don't really have any more.
I'm sure some will come up while we're chatting.
Yeah.
Maybe we can add them onto the list.
We can. Oh, actually, no. I do have one more, which it's a little bit pedantic, but I have these like coloured stickers for my batteries.
I've seen those. You are so smart.
Yeah. So I know I can look at the back of the camera and I can see if it's like green, yellow, or red. I know like how many batteries I'm down to. So it's like if I'm looking at the camera and if I go to my bag and it's like the red battery, I know that's my last one, and I have to like go and find my chargers and start to charge some batteries. Otherwise, I don't know how many batteries I've got left. So that's something I've been trying.
Yeah, that's really smart. I have a really big water bottle for a wedding day. It's like
one of those massive pump
like
ones.
2 liters.
Yeah.
It's basically
A bucket.
Yeah, it's basically like a half-gallon drum.
Yeah.
And I actually have little stickers on it for a wedding day, and and I'll have like by the ceremony,
Yeah.
and then by reception.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, because I kind of feel like I
Yeah.
never know the time. You know how fast the day goes, and then it makes sure I don't have that horrible like next day
Wedding hangover.
Yes, without the alcohol.
Get the water.
Get the water for sure.
Yeah. Cool. All right. Well, that'll do probably for the wedding day hacks, but that was good.
Cool.
I liked that. So let's go now. Destination weddings.
Okay.
You know. Well, I guess to sort of get some context, when did you start shooting weddings, and how did you kind of get into the whole destination thing?
Okay, so I feel like I had a slightly different path to destination weddings to a lot of people, because I wasn't. I've been shooting weddings for about 8 years now, and I wasn't just shooting weddings and then one day I was like, I'm going to go shoot a wedding over on the other side of the world. So about 6 years ago, my husband Todd and I moved over to London, and that was kind of the beginning. And I knew I wanted to shoot weddings in the UK and Europe. I didn't want to have to go and waitress my way around the UK.
Yeah.
So that was kind of the beginning, and then I thought I would be just solidly overseas for a few years, but I come home every summer and shoot a bunch here. So I've kind of had this really nice endless summer for the last 7 years. And when I first got to the UK, I kind of did it by reaching out to 2 or 3 other photographers whose work I really aligned with online. I just sent them some just really genuine emails, and we kind of had like a pen pal thing going on for a while. And 2 of them, Alexa and Helen, are still 2 of my closest friends now. And yeah, I think that kind of got me my foot in the market over there.
Yeah. And was was travel as a like making money while traveling, was that ever like a goal that you were going for, or?
It was, yeah. I mean, obviously, when I first started out, it was hugely exciting because it was places I'd never been before. So travel was definitely a priority. And I'll be really honest, like in the beginning, I did shoot a couple of weddings where I didn't charge travel.
Yeah.
But I'm saying that with keeping in mind that I was based in London, and if I had a wedding in Milan, the flight is like,
yes,
it's like $300.
Yeah.
It's like the same as shooting a wedding in Queenstown from Auckland.
Yeah.
And everything's kind of on your back door. I obviously don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
But it was a good way to get my name out there in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think it's kind of, we're at a time where everybody's not condoning that, and people are quite harsh about their behaviour.
Yeah.
I think we should all charge what we're worth. But I think I'd be such a hypocrite if I was saying that I'd done it a couple of times as well.
Totally. And I've got some questions later on about that, getting those real like aspirational destination weddings, and not charging for travel just to like get them for the portfolio. So we'll talk about that sort of,
sure.
Getting those like portfolio weddings and stuff a bit later. But sort of, I know you mentioned you were living in London for a bit, but you aren't living in London anymore.
No.
Do you want to tell us a little bit about sort of like where you've been zipping around all over the show and where you are currently?
I was in London for like 2.5 years. Yeah. And then after that we were in Berlin for 2 years, and then we just finished being in Vancouver for 2 years. So I moved back to New Zealand about a week ago. When did I see you? 2 weeks ago?
2 weeks ago.
2 weeks ago. So I've been shooting a Canadian US season the last 2 years. And it's still a few bits and pieces of Europe. And I'll be here in New Zealand until kind of a couple of months into the new year. And then we're heading back to Berlin again.
So how do you kind of manage like getting into those markets? If you're only like there for 2 years, like how do you kind of break in?
So, I mean, Europe I was pretty lucky. The first couple of destination weddings that I got sort of 6 years ago, got published on 2 blogs. One was Green Wedding Shoes and one was Rock My Bride, which is a really big blog in the UK. And I feel like back then as well, 6 years ago, if you were on a blog for a destination wedding, it generated a lot more traffic than it does now. I feel like nowadays it's kind of lost its zest a bit. And I was really into Facebook when it first launched as well. So I was really onto it with posting, and the algorithm was a lot better for your reach, especially if you had destination keywords in there. Yeah.
Whereas now it's basically you have to buy, otherwise. Yeah. Organic is nothing now.
Yeah, organic is absolutely nothing, which I understand as well. Like they're a business. What was the beginning of the question?
Just your how you got into those
pathways, And to be honest, like every time I change, there's obviously a bit of a lull because people don't know that you're like right now I'm trying to book Europe for 2020, but all of my inquiries are for Canada, USA. So there's always a swing year, I find, where it takes momentum to pick up again because I don't have the same visibility I had in Europe 3 years ago.
But are you doing any kind of like active or paid like advertisement to like just try and blast into those?
Not areas? At the moment. I'm pretty lucky. Like I have a couple of good friends who do a similar thing that I do. I have a friend in the UK who does a half a year London, half a year Australia. So we kind of switch referrals. I do, to be honest, need to do some more, I guess, kind of SEO or advertising or whatever it is at the moment if I want to book a few more. But I book a lot through word of mouth still, and I really prefer that.
I suppose if you're going back to Europe now, you've kind of got a few of those networks and stuff established.
Yeah, for sure. I have a lot of like really good friendships there, and a lot of planners that I really love to work with who I can just say, I'm coming back.
Yeah, that's cool. What happens when an inquiry comes that doesn't fit your travel schedule?
Oh, well,
like those.
If it's something I really want, it's usually devastating.
Yeah.
It depends. Like, if they have the budget to fly me, it doesn't happen very often. I think in my 6 years overseas, it's only happened once that I have been in New Zealand and had to go back to the other hemisphere for a wedding because it's obviously horrifically expensive. So I mean, I usually just refer someone on.
Yeah.
And then cry. No.
Well, basically, you're like, I really wanted that one. Yeah. Okay, so let's start to talk about some of your like top favorite weddings that you've done. Like in terms of just because of the destination itself, or So like, what are some of the amazing weddings that you can look back on and go like that was epic?
I think it's going to sound really cliched, but I think for me it's always if I also had really cool people. Yeah. Because I feel like
it's never just about like the stuff in the place.
No, for sure. Yeah. It's like if it was a killer party, if like I ended up staying friends with those people. Yeah. Like I've shot Santorini a lot, which is always beautiful and incredible, and I'm really lucky to return there a lot of times. But it's also really busy, like from a photography perspective, it's hard work when you're there because it's generally 35 degrees plus. There's like 10 other brides.
Yeah, and it's like you're on because there's like those walkways, and you're often
there's very specific places.
and there's just like tourists like blasting past. Yeah,
and obviously like as years go on, that's getting worse and worse each year. I really love shooting. I've shot Scotland a few times, but I feel like I like it because it looks like New Zealand.
Yeah.
But I'm always, I think being from here as well, I'm always drawn to more natural landscapes. But I don't know, I love cities as well. But I think someone pointed out to me recently, a friend who's a Paris-based photographer. Her name's Katie Mitchell. She has beautiful work. But if you look at her portfolio, it's almost entirely portrait.
Yeah.
Whereas I'm predominantly landscape. And she pointed it out to me, and she's like, well, you shoot in New Zealand. Like, you're trying to get in as much stunning landscape and beautiful like as you can. She's like, I shoot in a city, like I'll have a gorgeous couple and like a great wall, but then right next to it will be like 5 dumpsters.
No, of the places that you have been, is there anywhere left that you're like, I would really love to do a wedding there?
I would really love to do some I guess less relevant about the place, but I would love to do some really more traditional weddings. Like I'd love to do a traditional Sri Lankan wedding in Sri Lanka, or like an Aboriginal wedding. But the problem with those, with that situation is like obviously I would be an outsider, and generally weddings in that sense don't have a wedding planner or 9 months of lead up. It's like, oh, tomorrow we'll marry you. I think those communities are really fascinating to me, and that's definitely on the list.
Do you feel like the kind of like I guess like mystique and like romance of being like the destination photographer is kind of like fading now, or is it still something that you kind of love about what you do?
I don't know if there was much.
Because it's the kind of thing, I suppose, that like from the outside you're like looking in, it's something you look at and go, whoa, that's like amazing.
And then there's a reason people think that, right? Because everybody's I mean, it's social media, everybody's only showing the best of everything. But I mean, I don't want to seem ungrateful because I'm really lucky to do what I do, but I'll be really honest, I had 7 months away from my husband this year, and I spend a lot of my time alone, like in hotel rooms or airports editing, and it's been an awesome way to see the world, and I've shot some incredible weddings, but I think, I don't know if it's fading. I think it's become so much more desirable to shoot weddings all over the world now in the last few years, that there's just a lot more demand for it, and there's a lot more people doing it for next to nothing as well.
And because with that, because there is like pressure online from photography groups and stuff like to not work for free and stuff, but like how do you feel about people who do like try and like just book some of those like real like aspirational destination weddings, and you like don't charge travel or like don't charge anything and just like do it for free just for the portfolio? You know, like what, like how do you feel about that sort of thing?
Like I said earlier, it would be really hypocritical for me to sit here and be like, oh, I never did that, because I did, but I didn't do it. I did it for like 5 or 6 weddings. I was also based in London. I knew that I was going to be there solidly for a year, and I wanted to shoot more weddings, and I needed the portfolio, and I needed a base to be able to say I can do this, and this is what it looks like. But I think it is harmful for the industry if people are wanting to are going out there and saying for this entire year I'm not charging travel, because it obviously harms photographers based in that area as well. If you're not charging what you're worth. But I don't know, who knows where it's going to go.
Because it's the kind of thing that I know a few people who have done it, and it is a good way to get your foot in the door and stuff, but there's like I guess it's kind of finding that balance between damaging other people's,
Yeah. But I
markets and
suppose
stuff.
it's also at a point now where maybe if everyone even does it a few times a year, there's now so many photographers that maybe it's going to take a toll regardless.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It's an interesting one. Yeah.
In terms of the weddings themselves, between like USA, UK, Europe, Aussie, wherever, do you find that the couples or the weddings are like what are some of the kind of differences between like the weddings you shoot like here in New Zealand versus overseas?
I think I tend to attract a lot of couples with like similar values and similar hopes and goals for the day. So in many ways they're really similar. I think there's definitely a lot more outside weddings in New Zealand.
Yeah.
I find Kiwis, and I was just like this when I got married as well, we are so bad at planning for rain. But we just assume, but we don't have amazing weather but somehow we assume that like your wedding day will be.
Yeah.
Whereas I feel like in other countries that have the similar weather to us, they always plan for rain. Like I've shot beautiful weddings in the UK that are inside and it was like 30 degrees and cloudless outside.
Yeah.
So I always find that a funny little mix with New Zealand.
Yeah.
One thing I'm hoping to see more of here, and I think it is changing, and this is just a personal preference in terms of the way I like to shoot. But for example, a lot of the weddings I have in the Northern Hemisphere, this idea that the portraits is the dominant part of the day is pretty redundant. If I said to some of my couples over there, here is a picnic basket and we're going to go for 3 hours to 6 locations and take portraits. Like if that's what the couple wants, great. Yeah. But it's not. I feel like over here it's much more the expectation. Yeah. And I'm really challenge couples to think about, in another 10, 20 years, are you really going to frame 200 portraits of you and your bridesmaids? Yeah. Or would you much rather have spent that time with your family and friends, mingling, hanging out, like enjoying the day?
Yeah. I am finding like it is changing slowly. Like couples are wanting to prioritize that time with their guests and their family and everything a bit more. And
it's also their first wedding, so it's often
we're the ones who see them all the time.
They've only been to other weddings where that was the kind of the format, and I think I enjoy challenging couples to mix it up.
Are there any other kind of like traditions or trends that are like happening overseas that you feel like would be great if New Zealand took on board?
I kind of actually think sometimes New Zealand sets a lot of the trends.
That's cool.
Especially. Yeah, I feel like brides in particular over here are much more, can be more cutting edge with like gown selections. Kiwis tend to stray from the traditional a lot more. Yeah, and which I really love. Whereas I feel like some of the dresses I've shot here, you show people overseas, they're kind of like, oh, but it doesn't look like a wedding dress. I'm like, it doesn't look like a wedding dress.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, totally.
So the trends, I don't know. I guess. Trends wise, it seems pretty global. Yeah, New Zealand's the only place I've seen the trend of like which I don't approve of, where they don't have a wedding cake, they have like wheels of cheese.
Oh yeah.
No, you need a cake.
You need a cake.
Yeah.
No, fair enough. Yeah, that is. I never fully got on board with that one.
No, and you know what a sweet tooth I am.
Yeah.
And when the cake comes out, I'm all over it.
I mean, you did show up here today with a box of sweets. So,
a box of cake.
Yeah,
I did.
Of cake,
yeah.
Which I appreciate, to be fair. Okay, so like your brand as a photographer, like Nisha Ravji Photography, is like the fact that you are like a destination wedding photographer. Do you sort of specifically wrap that up in your brand and market yourself as that, or is it just a byproduct of the fact that you've been traveling around all these years?
I think it's probably the latter.
Yeah.
I guess I don't spend a ton of time thinking about myself as a brand. I just like Nisha Ravji, I'm a photographer, and then I happen to live in 2 different places, which gives me access to these. I think if I wanted to shoot a lot more, I would push a lot harder for it. But I think if you were to go to my website today, it kind of there's weddings from everywhere, and I think it kind of explains itself. I'm also very careful that I'm aware that like New Zealand is my home, and eventually I don't know when, but I would like to settle back here. Yeah. So I would never want to alienate myself in the New Zealand market. Also, I don't want people to feel like, I think as it is, people when they inquire, they're like, "Are you here?"
Yeah.
Like, what? We don't know if you're here, but we're going to inquire. Yeah. Yeah, so I'm always very cautious of that in terms of how I present myself on the internet. And I know other photographers have successfully done it in a way that, you know, you kind of go to their site, there's a split landing page, and you can select New Zealand or London or Germany or Australia or wherever it is.
Do you think it would have, like, for other photographers, like, based in New Zealand, thinking about wanting to start to do weddings overseas, do you think that it's a necessity or advised to do the whole like summer, like follow the summers thing?
Because I mean I really hate winter, so
like, because I mean obviously like New Zealand's so far away from places like from everywhere else basically.
I think it's a great way to do it. I understand I'm lucky, like my husband his office, like this year he was based between his office was based in Kuwait. Next year he's based in Berlin, and a lot of his job is remote work, so we're lucky in that we can both move. Whereas I think if you're single in New Zealand and you don't have a partner to worry about, doing a second summer is a great way to do it. Even if you don't have your own weddings, like there's so many talented photographers who, you know, are happy to second shoot for a summer. And I always think I would love to do that now, like just go second shoot for a season.
Be a bit more chill.
A bit more chill, and also like be a little more creative, not have to worry about all the safe shots.
And so when you are booking your own weddings, like how are you kind of, because obviously like you're based in, if you're like based in Canada, you're doing like Canadian and American weddings, and same with Europe and stuff. Like there is still travel involved.
Yes.
Like, so like how are you going about kind of like selling that to the couples and getting them to buy into that whole side of things?
So I think when people go to my website and it says that I'm a New Zealander, and the weddings are kind of from everywhere, couples always assume that there will be a travel fee involved. Even when I get weddings in Auckland, to be honest, like I don't think I've had anyone inquire, or if people will ask in advance if there's any chance you're here. And then I have a pricing page on my website. So how I go about it is I look at a rough estimate using like Skyscanner or Kayak or whatever for the flights, and then in the I will quote the couple a maximum I'll invoice for flights, and then I require them to cover 2 nights accommodation. And then when I send through the final invoice, I'll send what I actually charged. And it's always less than what I invoice them, because I obviously will wait for sales and flights and things.
Yeah, cool. Nice. And is there any, I guess, other sorts of things that people should be aware of with, you know, those like international weddings, and anything like that you've sort of picked up over the years that you maybe sort of took you a while to figure out? Yeah, to figure out.
Always book your own flights. Yeah. I don't let the couples book your flights. No. Not always, like obviously, but sometimes I had a situation the very first year where I had a destination wedding, and it wasn't a big deal. It was only it was France from the UK, so it should only be an hour flight. But it was just a horrible. It was like 3 a.m, and then you know it was an airport that was nowhere near where I needed to be, and so I always pick an alliance, and I try and fly with them a lot of the time. What else? I'm trying to think. I got a backpack. I have the owner camera backpack because I realized really quickly that I go to a lot of places where wheels just don't work. Like cobbled streets or gravel or farms. So that was a big one for me. And then actually so I have this one black dress, and I call it my magic dress, because it's like it has like a frill at the bottom like this, and it's sleeveless. You would have definitely seen me wearing it, because I wear it to like every wedding. Yeah. And it's uncreasable.
Yeah.
I don't know what it's made of. Like some wizard has crafted it.
Yeah. It's like those dresses you get from Kathmandu that you just like crumple into a backpack.
Yeah,
and just, like, come out looking fine.
Except it looks like fancy enough to go to a wedding.
Yeah.
So I have a magic dress, and I wear rollies on my feet. Rollies. They're like I think a lot of New Zealand women photographers wear them. Yeah. They're incredibly light, but like really fancy looking wedding shoes. Yeah. They're made of Australia. They're made of Australia.
They're made of Australia.
That's why they're so comfortable. Yeah. Just koalas on the bottom. No, it's like really soft, supple leather, and they're amazing to shoot in. Nice. And I have a 3-shoe system.
3-shoe system.
A 3-shoe system for a wedding day. So I have a pair that I wear for the whole morning. It's usually like Tom's or something a little more casual, and then just before the ceremony I change into like this glittery silver pair of rollies that I have for the ceremony, and then all the way through to the dancing. And then if I'm staying really late, I only have one package, so generally I'm staying pretty late. I change into just some black Nikes, and that's the only thing that saves my feet the next day.
How is this not on your hacks list?
I know, I'm sorry, I should have added it in, but the 3-shoe system is what saves my feet.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love the 3-shoe system. I probably won't get this sparkly pair.
Yeah.
For the ceremony.
You should though. Yeah. We can match.
Yeah, cool. All right. Sounds good. What was I going to say? Oh, yes. Location scouting. Yes. How the heck do you location scout for somewhere you've never been? And then you're going to like rock into like the day of the wedding.
So I never fly in the day of the wedding.
Oh, yeah. Well, even the day before. Like, it's still pretty tight.
It is pretty tight. I mean, I always, because I'm also quite paranoid with flights, unless it's a domestic New Zealand flight, I always fly in a minimum of a day prior. Yeah. And I will kind of like Google Earth around.
Oh, yeah.
Before I turn up to scout. And also, obviously, like full disclosure, the couple knows that I've never been there before, so I'm really honest about that. And if it's a venue that I know a friend has shot at before, I'll often ask them and say, like, hey, where does the sun go down at certain points, and what was nice, and but it does. I have to have a recce day the day before. Yeah.
Have you ever had like a freak out moment where you've arrived there before and you just like are not finding like anywhere?
Oh yeah,
that you're happy
all
with?
the time.
Yeah.
Like I think it's more. I kind of don't mind those situations though, because it forces me to challenge myself with like uncomfortable light, or not just playing it safe with like, which is what's really easy to do in New Zealand. There's always a beautiful field or vineyard or forest, whereas I kind of look back and the situations where I was thrown into non-ideal lighting and backgrounds are definitely the situations I think that grew me more as a photographer.
Totally.
Yeah.
Nice. And what about the photog scenes overseas? Do you feel like any kind of because I feel like in New Zealand it seems relatively small. Everyone seems to know each other. Does it feel the same?
I think it's just New Zealand in general.
Yeah. Well, there's that. But is it the same sort of overseas, or?
No, I think what we have in New Zealand we're really lucky to have. Yeah. Like, and you're a part of this, but the photography community in New Zealand is really close, and videography, and some of my closest friends here are in the industry. And they're not just people that you get together and talk about like f-stops with. I mean, we never do that, but like, people are going to listen to this podcast and be like, oh, don't make friends with photographers. No, but like people that you show up on their birthdays, you spend evenings with them, you have like actual conversations. Vancouver is also very good though, and I think that's the other reason why I was able to transition my business there so easily. So the first time I went over was 3 years ago, and a friend who's from the UK but lives in Vancouver, Sachin, invited me to come over for a conference there, and I met an amazing group of people and photographers. And I would say that's in terms of everywhere I've lived, Vancouver has been the most similar to community here in terms of like people have your back, and there's like hiking clubs and like board game nights, and especially, I mean, you already know this, but being self-employed and a creative and working from your home, it's pretty isolating. And
Yeah, it is. It is. I mean, to be honest, that was one of the driving factors of starting the podcast.
Yeah.
Was an excuse to hang out with people and just chat for an hour. So.
I agree.
Yeah.
And especially if you have like a more extroverted personality, like I definitely get my energy from being around other people.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a workplace to go to with people every day.
Yeah.
I always run into this with Todd, my partner, because he's much more introverted and much happier on his own than I am. And so, you know, especially in Berlin, I would be working at home alone in the apartment all day and going crazy. And then he'd come home from work and had been in boardroom meetings and dealing with people all day long. And all he wants to do is just like sit there and like be quiet or play a game or something. And he comes in the door and I'm like, whoa!
Yeah.
So, yeah, community is huge.
Yeah. Do you like actively seek it out? Like when you're like moving to each of these places, you're like
definitely
it's like on your to-do list to like make connections and meet the people there. Like,
so I typically so there's like a website, I think it's global, it's called Maple Meetup. Actually no, it's definitely only in Canada, it's called Maple. So that was really good to meet new people and connections through, and they have you basically put in your hobbies and what you're into, and then
that's cool.
Every week you'll get a notification and it'll be like 7 people are meeting at this Irish pub on the corner of this beach to discuss ravens if you want to go. I actually went to that one. It was amazing.
Oh really?
I really like ravens.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so no, or I'll like join a local gym, or I joined F45 in Vancouver, and the F45s are amazing because it's like this ready-made community, and it's usually expats that go. Or like book clubs, or I joined a Stitch and Bitch.
Oh yeah.
In London, that was a lot of fun.
Nice.
So I think I am really proactive about it. Not just obviously it doesn't really have anything to do with my business, but more for my like
sanity,
mental health. Yeah, definitely. But then I've actually booked quite a few weddings through friends that I've made through these circles as well.
And because I guess one of the things too I've noticed about you is that like friendships and stuff seem to be really important to you, and you often make friends with your couples and your clients like more than other photographers. Like I often see like posts like on social media and stuff like from couples like tagging you, like thanking you, and you like commenting on their photos like ages later when they're like on holiday, and you guys just like having like chats and stuff. You just seem to like be like a really proactive friend in that regards.
Yeah, I mean, this is why I think this was like the perfect job for me, because like I love photography and I love humans. But no, I'm really lucky, and like I was saying before, I book a lot of word of mouth, and I'm a really big believer in like good people will always lead you to more good people. So I really like my dad always jokes that to me when I'm at home where I'm bored and I'm like, oh, I need to get a new hobby this summer. He's like, making friends is not a hobby. Like you make it seem like a hobby. But no, I do end up, I'm very lucky. I have some really cool couples and like people that I do end up having dinner with like years down the track and hanging out with. And
it's really cool. It's something I've always noticed being something about you that's just like quite impressive, really. Just like
thank you.
Like how you manage to like just like make connections real quick and keep them up and just like put that effort in as a priority.
Yeah, I definitely,
really cool.
It's a big deal for me, and I want to get to the end of my life and look back and have, you know, I'm not the type of person that's going to cherish how much stuff I had or what clothes I wore or what achievements I won. For me, it really is, I want to look back and look at the cool connections that I had and people whose lives I got to be a part of.
That's awesome. I love it. You kind of mentioned it earlier, but do you feel like you'll be like traveling and working forever, or as long as you can?
I feel like every year I'm like, okay, just one more year, and I've been saying that for like 5 years. I to be honest, I really don't know. I really enjoy it at the moment, and I'm in that phase of life where all of my friends are having kids and settling down and buying houses and doing all this really cool stuff. And I think that really makes me want to come home, because I feel like I'm getting like massive FOMO for this like super cool community that's growing back here. And but equally, I'm aware that I'm very lucky to have this amazing opportunity, and I want to make the most of it. So yeah, I don't know. Who knows? I don't want to say a time, because I feel like every time I say the time, when I'm coming back, my parents get really excited, and then they're like, "But last year you said."
Yeah, and then because it'll be recorded like forever now.
I know, exactly.
You can't lock anything.
It's going to be like public records. Yeah. So we'll be careful.
Okay, cool. We won't lock you down to anything.
But you should come visit. It's way easier. You can just come to me.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Absolutely. To finish off, basically, because I've sort of gone through all the points that I wanted to talk through, but I kind of wanted to finish on something a bit broader, philosophical.
Cool.
Because I think when people look at like destination wedding photographers and stuff, I think there's a glamour of it in the sense of like being able to like tick something off their bucket list, like I'll do this amazing international wedding, and then I'll feel great and I can say I've done that.
Yeah.
And it's almost like a kind of consumerist, like I need to like get the thing. I need to like get the destination wedding. And whilst I don't feel like that's entirely healthy, there is like, I love travel, and I think travel is really important. And so like, whilst the kind of like flexing, like showing off, like posting it all on social media, like isn't kind of, I guess, the best reason for wanting to chase after destination weddings. Do you want to maybe talk a little bit about the parts of travel that you feel are great and is a great byproduct of doing all these weddings overseas?
Okay. Yeah, I guess it's hard for me to relate to that, because I'm someone that definitely probably, if I want to, keep shooting destination weddings and keep my business afloat and be able to keep up with all these amazing people on Instagram, I probably need to flex more.
Yes,
I'm really bad at all the all the Instagram stories and stuff, and
no, that's the thing. That's probably why you have fit so naturally into this lifestyle, because you're not about the flex of it. You're not about the showing off about it and stuff.
I think for me, probably going back to the previous question, the byproduct has been people.
Yeah.
Like the people that I've met, and the cultures I've been exposed to as well. Like I've always been really, I'm Indian, born here, first generation, but and my husband Todd is European, but like Scottish, Irish, English in descent. And so our wedding was like a real mix of two cultures, and we just did the one day. And that's those types of weddings always have a really special place in my heart. I really love seeing two different cultures come together. And I think that's been the biggest byproduct of travel for me, is experiencing so many different cultures and the way that they show love and they celebrate a wedding day. And, if I'd never left New Zealand, I would never have shot a Jewish wedding. I've never had a Jewish wedding inquiry in New Zealand, and I think that's because the community is much smaller here. If assuming there is a community. But yeah, it's given me huge insight into the way other cultures operate.
Because I love travel, and like Michaela and I have made travel a priority in our life, like for years now. And it's just it's the experiences and like I guess seeing stuff that you would never even, because it's like when you travel, it's not so much the travel you're picturing in your head before you go, because before you go you're looking at like Pinterest and Instagram, and you're thinking of all the like amazing things you'll see, but it's always the smaller like moments when you're traveling that are what's
the things that are more memorable.
Yeah.
And I think in a lot of ways it's it's quite sad. I often fantasize about, you know, if we did the same amount of travel 30 years ago before we had the internet and Netflix and Instagram and all this kind of wonderful given stuff. It really kind of irks me that now when you go somewhere, you have a predetermined idea of what that place will look like. And sometimes you have a predetermined idea of the photo that you will take because of Instagram. Like if I said to you right now, like, oh, we're going to go to Santorini, you already know the photo that you're going to take. So you're right. It's often the unknown that's more satisfying now.
Do you feel any pressure from couples from that too? Or especially from weddings where you're kind of probably both traveling, like Santorini, you're both traveling, like both the couple aren't based there, everyone's traveling to Santorini. Do you get pressure from couples to like do the shot, or do they kind of let you?
I think in those like beginning conversations, we kind of feel it out together, and there's nothing wrong with wanting those iconic photographs. Like they're a big part of why people travel to a certain place. So I don't ever want to, you know, judge a couple's choices of imagery. I just want it to be more organic and more, I guess I want to make photos that are unique to them. I don't, in the same way that, you know, no photographer likes being presented with a list off Pinterest. It's also equally not nice to take the same photo in every location that every other person has taken. But also I totally understand, like if you go to, you know, Bali or France or India for a destination wedding and it looks like you had your wedding back home in like Christchurch, you're like, probably going to be a little bit upset. But I think I like to layer on in a different way. I shoot a lot of B-roll and things to kind of inform you of where you are and how it felt, as opposed to just
the money shot.
Just the money shot.
No, cool, awesome. Alrighty, well, I think that's basically going to do us for the main topic.
Sounds good. Shall we go eat some cake?
Yes, let's go eat some cake. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for coming along.
No, completely my pleasure.
Chatting about cool travel stuff. Stoked.
I hope it was informative.
Absolutely. I will have all of Nisha's like links and stuff all below, and so you can go check out her awesome work, which I'm sure you already have. 10 episodes down.
Cool. Exciting.
Stoked. So we'll see you guys in the next one.
Bye.
Peace.